American police have again killed another good guy with a gun who happens to be black. Last week or the week before, I told you about police shooting and killing a black security guard who had a firearms permit, who was able to disable a shooter at the bar where he worked. And a bunch of reasonable questions came forward from that incident. Question number one, are black men allowed to be the good guys with guns? Question number two, why don't we see the NRA sticking up for them and creating public campaigns of support for them as the law-abiding Second Amendment heroes that so many white people receive as their treatment, their PR treatment from the NRA? And thirdly, is it that clear that more good guys with guns actually helps out in these situations because it's gotten people killed? So now we have another incident to look at. Licensed to carry black man, E.J. Bradford, 21 years old, was shot and killed by police responding to a Thanksgiving night shooting. Police showed up, they found Bradford carrying a gun, and they shot him dead. Much later, they admitted, turns out Bradford wasn't actually the shooter we were called out about. He was a so-called good guy with a gun. And police were actually unable to even find the actual shooter initially, not the guy they killed. They weren't even sure who it was that they were actually looking for. So still a question is whether E.J. Bradford was at all involved, even if he wasn't the shooter. There are still some details missing here. But what has been reported is that there were numerous other gun owners, most of them white, armed, who were not shot at this event by police. And again, these are the facts we know, and we need to wait to continue learning more. But the big picture is that, once again, many people were armed. Whatever went on in the officer's mind led to a split-second decision that the black guy with the gun was more dangerous than the white guys with guns, and that's who was shot, even more so than the active shooter. Okay? Now, I'm waiting to hear from the NRA on this one. I'm waiting to hear whether they are going to come to the defense of this legally armed black man. And the last one, by the way, from last week or the week before, we still haven't heard from them about that one either. An investigation has been started. The officer in question is on leave. And unfortunately, I don't know whether we're going to get an outcome other than, hey, you know what? Heat of the moment decision. The officer was justified in what they did. It was a tragedy, but the officer didn't really do anything wrong. And once again, Pat, you know what? Why don't we hear the NRA loudly and publicly come to the defense of these black men who were legally carrying and are shot by police?
I mean, I'm sure that they would say that they want to get all the facts on the table first before making their judgment. The problem is we know that they just don't want to criticize police officers. And once all the facts do actually come to the table, most people have moved on. Not as many people are paying attention to it anymore. So then they can ignore the story altogether. That's my thought on it.
The police will investigate themselves and determine that no wrongdoing exists by the officer. He feared for his life. This was tragic, but it could have been prevented if E.J. Bradford had behaved differently. Oh, and all the other cameras that were in the area, they malfunctioned. We just don't have video of the incident. It's unfortunate. I hope I'm wrong, okay? I hope I'm wrong, and we'll see if the next 24 or 48 hours provide more information about exactly what took place here.